Now, the next speaker I'm going to bring up on stage is an author of multiple books, but he's also interviewed some of the world's experts on success. He's
According
also
to the
a celebrity.
UK,
That's technology for you. And so we keep it rolling. As I was saying, he is a celebrity in his own right. In actual fact, if you like to see him use his transformational coaching, you can catch him on a reality TV show, which is aired nationally in South Africa, called The Single Wives. I hand you over now. It's video, as you've already seen, to Justin Cohen.
according to the UK Labour Department, 1 in 9 people is a salesperson. But if you think about it, actually, so are the other 8. Because anytime we influence anyone to do anything, well, we are selling them on a course of action. The first time that we screamed our head off as a baby, what were we doing? We were selling our mother our silence for her breast. For men, that continues long into adulthood. So anytime that you're influencing anyone, whether it is on your profit-boosting idea or to your spouse on where you want to go on holiday, a little bit more difficult, you are selling them. So when people say to me, Justin, I'm just not a salesperson, or I don't like selling, I know what they're actually saying is, I don't like rejection. Because yes, there is a lot of rejection, and here's the thing, it's on the other side of rejection that the deal is won. Now, I think it was Warren earlier this morning who put up an interesting number on the screen, 9.2, and so it depends which research you reflect on, and perhaps that is the way it works in digital marketing, but I want to give you another number, and that number is 7. And 7 on average is the amount of exposures that people need to a new product, service, or person before they will feel comfortable enough to buy. 7. Most people will, look, this notion of early adopters and late adopters, we are all late adopters, right? Some are just a little bit later than others. And the reason, well, Simon touched on it earlier, the reason is because human beings have something called the stranger syndrome. We're inherently skeptical of new product, services, and things. And this is really what we've inherited from our caveman ancestors. Now, imagine your caveman ancestor. The first time she sees some beautiful, luscious, gorgeous red berries, would it be a good idea for her to eat those lovely-looking, luscious, beautiful, gorgeous-looking red berries? Would it? No, right? Because they could be poisonous, and it could be the last time she ate anything. So instead, she gives it to the dog. She gives it to that uncle she doesn't like so much. She sees how the berries work for them, and then she'll decide whether she's going to use them herself, right? Effectively, and it's just occurred to me, Simon, while you're talking, that's a form of social proof, isn't it? Let me see if it's okay for them, and what does the story do? It says, look, it worked for them, right? But that's a little bit of an aside. So then, and only then, will she try them herself. So the same applies to us. Don't take rejection personally. They're not rejecting you. They're just not comfortable enough yet. Essentially, when it comes to sales, you are guilty until proven innocent. You are guilty until proven innocent. And so we have got to be willing to get out there and subject ourselves to that. Now, here's the thing. It's not that every one of those 7 exposures is you asking for the deal. No. The best kind of exposure is actually a value-based exposure. What is a value-based exposure? So a value-based exposure is when you're giving some information. You're giving a sample. You're giving something of value for them to say, yes, I like that. And you've noticed all the speakers do this, haven't you? On the stage, and I'll be no different. They will give you great stuff. Richard did it beautifully, right? There we go. Here's my videos, right? Go and taste. Go and experience. Giving. No cost. No price. We all do this regularly. What we're doing, we're giving value, giving value, giving value. And we know that most people will not actually purchase, but all we need is a few percent to purchase. Now, you, of course, may be in a different industry and you can't give as much, but what's stopping you from positioning yourself as your industry expert? What is stopping you so that when people are looking at what's going on in your industry, they call you? and they quote you in the newspaper. Now, you can get PR to help you do this, but you can also build it yourself through social media, through writing articles, through putting out great ideas and videos, just giving, and it doesn't even have to be value you've created, right? Even just sharing something of value that somebody else has created that's relevant to that particular client, what's happening? They are now seeing you as somebody of value. What this means is that we've got to be willing to serve before we sell. We have to be willing to serve before we sell. I had a lot of work with sales teams, and when I share this point, and you might be wondering, what is the point? It's optimism. We have to have a positive expectation that we will eventually get the deal. This is beautiful research, comes from the great Dr. Martin Seligman, head of the American Psychological Association. He was brought in by MetLife, one of the largest insurance companies in the US, losing half of their new recruits in the first year. These guys were getting so demotivated by all the rejection, they couldn't even predict who was going to stick it out in the company. Seligman hypothesizes the stars will be primarily optimists. What is an optimist? An optimist is somebody who expects the best. They turn problems into opportunities. Should the optimist fall out of the window of a 40-story building, passing by the 20th, he'd say to himself, so far so good. MetLife a little skeptical. Tough crowd here. MetLife a little skeptical. But amazingly found that the most optimistic people sold more than 56% more, or rather 56% more than their pessimistic counterparts. Optimism was a more important psychological driver in sales than anything else. Qualifications, your degrees, even experience. Just that positive expectation, because here's what we got to be: rejection specialists. But if we understand that it's not personal, that it's just about building that connection. And so when I work with sales teams, it's incredible to me how invariably the top sales performers are the ones that get rejected the most. Truly. They'll come up to me after and say, Justin, that's so true. I worked on a client for 3 years. My record was last week. I was working with a big insurance company, 10 years. I said to this, and this guy was a top performer, 10 years. I said, 10 years? I said, what happened? Why? I kind of want to know why did it take quite that long. He was a top performer. He said, the client was very happy with his current service provider. So I said, well, what did you do? So he said, well, I would just, once a year, I'd just connect with him. Hey, how you doing? And share value-based exposure, share information from the industry, what's going on, right? So he started to see him as a trusted resource and would occasionally even call him, even though they weren't doing business. I said, what happened 10 years in? He said his current service provider died. Oh, that you laugh at. And he had no relationship with anybody else in that company, but he had a relationship with him. And that's what this is about. Folks, you know this. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. This is positioning yourself in your industry so that people start to see you as a trusted resource. And when they see you as a trusted resource, when they are ready to buy, and everybody's got their own rhythm and timing, not everybody's ready at that point, but when they are ready, where are they going to go? To you, who's been giving them this great knowledge, who's just been serving them, or to someone else who's just asking for the deal? As Rocky Balboa said, you'll notice that I only ever quote the most esteemed authorities. It is not how hard you can hit. It is how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And keep moving forward.